This is another episode of Let's Find Out with our truck, the stubby Ram 1500. We've done a number of MPG loops with this truck, with the mirrors up versus the mirrors down. We've done it with a tonneau cover on versus off. We've even done it with and without the chin spoiler up front. But today what we're going to see is what happens to the MPG with a tailgate up versus a tailgate down. And this is something that Mythbusters did back in the day, but we can't help ourselves. We want to see what kind of results we get doing the same test. So that's what's up for today. And by the way, if you want to know what's going on with the graphics on this truck, we'll link to a video that explains why this truck says turd and turf on the side. But today is all about MPG, so let's get into it.
I know you guys have seen this truck in a lot of our videos before, but in case you haven't, this is a 2022 Ram 1500 Classic. So it uses the older body style, the older platform. It's a single cab, short bed, 6.5 foot bed, the shortest wheelbase you can get in one of these trucks, and it is a 4-wheel drive truck. It has the 3.6 liter Pentastar V6 engine, and it's bone stock. We haven't done anything to this truck besides take the tonneau cover off, so factory tires, factory suspension, no modifications, other than stickers, which are questionable.
We're getting stared at. Oh man, this is embarrassing. People are looking at us in not a good way. Alex and I are actually breaking a rule that we set for ourselves by doing this, because we told ourselves that we wouldn't be seen in this truck with Nathan's concept for business graphics, but
I said I wouldn't take it home. That was my rule.
We still haven't taken it home, so that's going to be the rule. As always, we are filling up at our local Sinclair station, and there's a few reasons that we fill up at Sinclair. For one, they use DynoCare additives in their fuel. But the other nice thing is that if you use the DynoPay app to pay for your fuel, it actually makes it less expensive, which is nice. And how much is fuel these days? It's not super cheap, around about $4.30, so any amount that you can save is always a plus. And we are going to use just a mid-grade fuel because this engine does not require premium fuel. And it shouldn't actually take too much. It's near full, but we want to make sure it's fully topped off so that we have an accurate reading. It's taking more than a gallon. All right, we'll give it 30 seconds and then top it off, and then we'll be good to go on our way. Sweet! That is the Andre Smirnoff top off. I think Roman's behind us. I just saw a silver bolt.
I see a hula girl on the dash. So.
Yeah, I think that is Roman.
There's a hula girl on the dash. It's 100% Roman.
We're about to be passed by Roman. He is actually right behind us, heading to the airport for some press event. It's always hard to keep track. There's a lot of events going on all the time.
Yeah, we're going to be getting on the same highway as him, so I'm sure he'll pass us in a second here. But
yeah, we'll give him a
we're on our way right now. We're first doing the tailgate up or the tailgate closed test.
Yeah, that's going to be basically a control test, because obviously we've done this MPG loop a number of times and we always do a control, but every day is different. The temperature is different, humidity is different, the wind is different, so it's important every time that we do this, we do another control.
Yeah, and I think this is a really interesting test because trucks are getting sold with shorter and shorter beds, it seems like. The 5.5 foot bed in half-ton trucks is super popular. Same thing with like the 5 foot bed in the Tacomas. And there's a lot of times, even here at TFL, where we're transporting something and we need to go 1,000 miles or 2,000 miles with the tailgate down in order to get done what we need to get done.
Yeah, and this is just going to be interesting to see if we notice any difference at all. Now, like we said, this is a test that Mythbusters did, but we want to do the test on our own. And the way that our loop works, well, it's always the same highway loop that we do, and it's pretty much all highway driving, which is good for this test because this test is about aerodynamics. So it's a 65 mile per hour highway for a short stint leaving Boulder, and now we're hopping on E470, which is a tollway, very little traffic, and there or here, the speed limit is 75. So I'm gonna go ahead and set my cruise to 75 once I get up to speed. And I'm trying to accelerate relatively gently because I want to make sure that we reduce as many human factor variables as possible. So I'm gonna probably have to go around this Hyundai in front of us once this car to my left passes. Come on. All right. Now we are cruise control set to 75. So this is going to be our speed for the majority of this test. And once we get our control done, we'll have an MPG figure for that to run as basically a baseline. And then we'll be able to do the exact same loop under the exact same conditions with the tailgate down to see if there's any difference at all.
Yeah, so we'll keep driving for a little bit, cue the montage, and we'll get back to you in a little bit with an update.
All right, hitting cancel on the cruise control because we're pulling off at our exit right now. So it's the halfway point on our trip. And I gotta say, I feel like today is kind of a perfect day to be doing this because it's not very windy. It's nice, good temperatures. I mean, not that you necessarily need that for an MPG loop, but this is just a good day to be doing it. Yeah,
there's no weather. I mean, nothing on the roads, no wetness or anything, and the wind is always the killer out here in Colorado, especially on the Front Range. So it's a nice calm day. There's, you can see, looking out here, none of these trees are blowing too hard, none of the bushes are all over the place, so it should be a pretty straightforward test.
So some of the other MPG tests that we've done with this truck, like I mentioned a little bit before, were the mirrors up versus down, which is also something that we'd like to retest because there was a dramatic difference between the mirrors being up and down, and just to do even more testing to confirm those results, we'd like to run that one again. But we also saw pretty considerable differences between having the tonneau cover on and leaving the chin spoiler on.
Yeah, I mean, those chin spoilers are there for a reason, and I think that's kind of the least practical of all the tests we've done, because unless you're doing a ton of off-roading, most people are just going to leave that chin spoiler on their truck the whole time. But there's a lot of times when you'd have to run with the tailgate down or leave your tonneau cover off, and especially the mirrors. I see people all the time driving around with their tow mirrors flipped out and they don't have anything hooked up to the back of their truck. So yeah, like you said, that'd be a really interesting one to retest, because if there really is that big of a difference, then more people should be driving around with their tow mirrors down.
Yeah, but right now for this test, we're back heading toward Boulder, 75 miles per hour set once again. So we're at our cruising speed and it's easy going here.
Yeah, so once again, cue the music and we'll catch up back to you when we are pulling back into Sinclair and Boulder.
We're pulling off the highway, which means we are pretty much done with this part of the loop. We just got to hook around less than a mile to get to the gas station to fill up. It's about a 57-mile loop according to the GPS, and because the GPS is the most accurate, that's what we'll use to calculate our fuel economy. So yeah, we'll hook around here and see what the truck did in its control variable run, and then we'll find out if there's any difference with the tailgate down. So 57 miles, a decent sized loop. It's not massive, but it's plenty enough distance for us to get an idea of what kind of mileage we're getting with the truck as it is. And the other nice thing is that it's a very quickly repeatable loop, so that the conditions really don't change in any notable metric in the amount of time that it takes us to run that loop. So, no car wash. Yes. Once again, 87 octane. And let's find out how much we used. 2.4 gallons, almost 2.5. So we'll wait 30 seconds, and then we can pull the handle again, top it off, and do our calculation. All right, 30 seconds. And there we go. Our final number is 2.615. So let's do our calculation. So it's a 57-mile loop divided by 2.615 gallons is 21.8 essentially miles per gallon. So that is not a bad number, but the question is, can we improve it with one simple action? Let's find out if that saves us money. Pretty easy to do. Okay, cancel on cruise control because we're pulling up to the halfway point once again. And yeah, I mean, with all the stickers and the decals that are on the truck, you know, if we didn't look stupid before, we do now because we're driving around with the tailgate down. There's nothing back there.
Yeah, it looks like we had a bunch of poop scoops and poop bags and we lost everything. And somewhere on the highway there's pounds and pounds of dog poop and we don't know what we're doing. But we do know what we're doing. We're doing scientific truck testing here.
It is in fact intentional. So yeah, that's halfway through with the tailgate down. You can really barely even notice that it's down. Yeah, we'll turn around and pretty soon we'll know exactly what kind of difference, if any, it makes.
The one thing that's a little bit of a bummer though, I mean, if this does end up working and we find out that you should be driving with your tailgate open all the time, your backup camera is not really gonna work.
My truck doesn't have a backup camera because I'm not soft. You know, I can back it up using the mirrors. I'm all good on that front. But for somebody that needs a newer truck, with all the cameras and the safety systems like you, I could see that being a downside.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it's because I'm soft. Maybe because the government's soft, because, you know, they have to put backup cameras on them now. So we'll blame it on the government, not on me.
You were the one that was complaining about losing the backup camera feature. So,
yeah, it's a feature you're paying for in the truck, and if you have to drive with the tailgate down all the time to get better fuel economy, then that backup camera is a little useless.
This guy has a Cummins that can tow near 20,000 pounds, and he doesn't have tow mirrors on it.
No, who needs tow mirrors? I can see perfectly out of my half-ton mirrors. They're great. They don't have this weird split glass thing where I have to adjust my eyes depending on what mirror I'm looking into.
That's sad.
There's less things to go wrong. I don't have a folding mechanism that can break.
A folding mechanism that can break. Have you ever seen one of these mirrors break?
No.
Do you think it's going to make a difference?
I think it's going to be a little bit better, but I think it's going to be... Let's put a number to it. I think we're going to get half a mile per hour per gallon better.
Yeah, my guess is that the results are going to be close enough that it's basically inconclusive.
All right, well, I see Sinclair out in the distance. We're pretty much done our tailgate down loop.
And the trip odometer says 56.5, but we know by confirming with the GPS that it's actually a dead-on 70. Now it says 56.6. So the trip computer is actually pretty close.
Pretty accurate. And it's saying 21 and a half mpg right now.
Yeah, of course, we always check that at the pump because there's always a little bit of discrepancy there. And we're pulling up to the same pump we've been using. But after that long drive, I mean, we've now been in this truck for a couple hours. I gotta say, even though this interior is dated because, you know, this is just an older platform, is this still a nice, comfortable truck to spend time in? I mean, if you don't really care about having the newest design and all of the newest tech, even though the screen is small, it still works fine. So I think this is a perfectly reasonable truck to spend some time in.
For the most part, unless you have a lot of stuff with you. The one complaint I've had...
Alex doesn't like single cabs.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan because we have both our camera bags with us right now, and unless I want the camera... They don't fit fine.
Yes, they do.
No, they don't. Unless I want the camera bag on the seat right here, or on the floor, it's got to go behind my seat, which means I have a limited amount of recline I can get out of the seat, and I'd prefer to recline it a little more while I'm lounging and watching you drive.
The problem is that Alex carries way too many things in his truck with him, so he always feels like he needs more space in the
Things
cab.
you need, like a snow scraper and jumper cables and
Alex
tools.
still has his factory suspension in the back of his
No, I
truck.
don't. I took that out months ago.
You have still some bushing.
There's like
stuff.
a bushing and a washer. Give me a break.
Alex and I are buddies. We hang out a lot, and I know for a fact that there's still suspension.
There's a washer. There's a
in the
washer back
of his
there.
truck. But anyway,
Cry me a river.
This is a good truck, and we're going to find out if we just made it better by dropping the tailgate at the risk of people thinking that we're morons. Hopefully, it turned out in some better MPG. All right, this is the moment of truth. So your estimate was that it's going to do a little bit better.
Half a mile per gallon better was my guess.
My estimate is that it's going to be round about the same. Trip Computer seems to be estimating that we're getting at least pretty similar MPGs. And I'll pull up the exact number once again. Okay, so 30 seconds. Our exact number before was 21.797, so basically 21.8. Moment of truth. Okay, so 2.8 gallons, let's do the calculation. 57 divided by 2.828 is 20.15. So it's actually worse.
Actually a little bit worse.
It's actually a good bit worse. So look at that. We're looking at almost a 2 MPG difference, maybe, like 1.5 basically. So
That's very surprising.
yeah, I think it's actually a little bit worse, which is good. That means we can pop this back up.
And use our backup camera.
And sure, we could use the backup camera. We can also leave it to the stickers to make people think that we're goofy.
Yeah.
Have to drive around with our tailgates down. These trucks are designed to work a certain way, and that's part of it.
Yeah, and it'd be a little bit of a bummer if you did get better fuel economy because...
Then we'd all have to drive around with our tailgates.
Yeah, we'd be driving with our tailgates down looking like morons, and you couldn't keep, like I always keep a broom in the back of my truck to brush snow off and stuff because I have a big lifted truck. So it's nice to know that tailgate up is the right way to do it, and you can keep your stuff in the bed and not have to worry about transferring it all to your cab just to see a 1 or 2 mile per gallon gain in fuel economy.
So there we have it. It's not a massive difference, but it is slightly better with the tailgate up. So if you're wondering, you don't need to do anything with your tailgate to try and get better fuel economy. Just leave the truck as it is. Maybe add a tonneau cover if you want a little bit of extra aero. So that's all for this video. Be sure to let us know what you think down in the comments below, and we'll catch you all in the next video.